Well, the summer transfer window was interesting. That's probably a good word for it. There really wasn't a lot of movement. We had a huge transfer budget, and we didn't come anywhere near spending all of it. And that doesn't include the 1.1 million euros in salary wiggle room we had as well. I mean, our salary, a lot of salary was, what was it, 2.2 million euros a week, and I'm spending 1.2. So we went into the summer transfer window looking to make a couple moves that could possibly strengthen the team. And if that meant players had to leave, then players had to leave. I scouted my tail off. And I think we got some good players in. We also lost a player I was hoping to keep a hold of. But frankly, the money was just too good. And once he figured out who was chasing him and how much they were offering to pay him, he didn't want to stay here anymore. So, just another summer transfer window here in Hyen. My name's FM20, and it's time to get real. And this is what we're looking at. The summer transfer window, I want to say, is closed because today is Champions League group stage draw. It's been a couple days since I recorded. You would have thought I remembered how to talk and everything like that with a camera on while looking at a screen, but apparently not. We spent 52 million euros. We sold 95 million euros worth of players, and we'll go through that here now. So, on the released players. Antonio Costa, Jose Miguel Esposito, Chris Williams, Francisco Emilio Martin, and Jacob all left. I think the only one of any consequence may have been Costa. Yeah, 3.5-star potential, 19 years old. He wasn't getting a lot of playing time, and I think this 3.5 stars is a bit optimistic, to be honest with you. I've had him 3 years. He came in as part of the youth intake. He spent 3 years out on loan at Hospitalet, had a good season 2 seasons ago, spent a season at Baracaldo, had a decent season there, and just never really got any better. So one of those guys we brought in, paid €1 million for him, and he never really panned out. That's kind of what happens. When you take a risk, sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't. On the free transfers. On the outs, Ricardo Piccioni left. He went to Spal on a free. He was one of those guys who was good, but was never going to be good enough, if that makes sense. A defensive right back who can also play some defensive center back. Physically, he's okay. Mentally, he's okay. Technically, he's below average in a lot of areas, except his marking and his tackling. He's one of those guys who would be a solid La Liga 2 player or a Serie B player or a Bundesliga 2 player and be a bench player for most of your upper leagues. He came in 250,000, and then he spent a season at Malaga and was pretty good there. He spent a season at Alaves when they were in La Liga 2 and was really solid there. Went to Leganes when they were in La Liga and just never really got off the bench. He went to Sevilla last season, and he was okay, but not great. And frankly, I have better options on the bench. I could have moved him for money, but at the same time, it's one of those cases where, was I going to get what I paid for him? Probably not. So on the ends, Diego Rodriguez comes in, 16 years old. I just needed depth on my under 19 squad, so I brought a lot. I brought more than a few players in, and then I kept the best ones. So he's a keeper. I needed a keeper. Asensio Rodriguez kind of fits in the same vein. And then Nikola Perovic, a defensive center back, 1-star current ability, 3-star potential ability. He's here for under 19 depth. And, frankly, if he turns into something, he turns into something. But he came in on a free. I mean, physically, he's average across the board. Mentally, he's pretty good in a couple places. The 18 aggression, 18 bravery is nice. The 10 determination is solid. 12 teamwork, 13 work rate's nice. Technically, he's a great free kick taker. He doesn't really tackle or mark all that well at this level of football. But I suspect he's one of those players I can move on, maybe for a little money at the end of his time here in Hyen. Loans. We have not loaned anybody in. On the other hand, we have loaned a bunch of guys out. And oh my God, took me forever to get some of these guys loaned out. I literally went in and adjusted certain players on what I was willing to loan them out for. Now, normally what I'll do is when I loan a player out, I'll say he has to be at least a regular starter. I want you to pay 50% of his salary if he's starting and 100% of his salary if he's sitting on the bench. I don't want a monthly fee. I don't attach a future option or anything like that to it. And 9 times out of 10, when I put the player on loan, I get that. What's been happening lately is I'll get 12 offers. And instead of regular starter, it'll be squad player. Well, depending on the squad he's going to, I'd be okay with that. But my loan manager would be like, no, I'm totally taking that. I'm knocking that out of hand because it doesn't meet my valuation. And it's like, F your valuation, go with mine. To the point where I literally went through and said, I don't want anything for this player, make him a squad player. And then the same player I tried loaning out 3 times, Moreno Agi, I tried loaning him out 4 different times with 4 different levels of what I want the other team to take care of, to the point where I was offering out for free where they didn't have to pay anything. And the loan manager was like, that doesn't meet my valuation of him. I fired my loan manager. And then I went and took control of the loans because it was just annoying as hell. And then I brought in a new loan manager. So, it is what it is. Juan Luis, I'm just going to hover over the guys here. Juan Luis Valero is a 17-year-old who went out for first-team playing time. Lorenzo Ibanez is a 20-year-old. He kind of falls into this gray area that's kind of like Robert Piccioni. He's good, but he's not great. He could be a bench player, or I could sell him on for money. He's one of those players I brought in on a free from Parla Escuela, who were a lower division squad. He's been here for a while, and he's never going to get any better. I suspect this is going to be his last season with us, and he will move on. It's one of those cases where he just didn't develop, and, that happens. John Luis Seca, 18 years old. Breakthrough prospect on the midfield. I can't remember if I brought him in this season or not, but he's got potential, but I sent him out to get first-team playing time. Victor Okoro, who is my young Nigerian midfielder, also went back out on loan. I was going to give him starts off the bench, but he wanted first-team playing time all the time, and he is able to get that at Malaga. Tim Bish, who is my he's playing defensive center back. He's normally a ball-winning midfielder on the midfield line, but I'm retraining him as a defensive center back. He went out to Morenzi. Amin Slimanu, who is my young midfielder, ball-winning midfielder from Algeria. He went out to Morenzi as well. I swear they bid on every player I put out on loan. Yaroslav Plasek, who I'm almost positive I brought in this season. 17-year-old advanced midfielder on the left. He is my advanced midfielder. He is my advanced midfielder of the left future, assuming the other guys don't pan out. Ahmed Adel, also from Egypt. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. I've got him playing midfielder out on loan, and for some reason he is just falling off. You know what? We'll keep an eye on him. If he goes down a little bit anymore, we'll have to yell at him. Bogdan Kostadinovic, who is my youth advanced midfielder, who I'm hoping to train at both the left and the right eventually. He went out on loan. He is going to play advanced midfielder on the right. Moreno Agi, who is another one of my midfielders, 22 years old, solid player. He just wasn't going to get a ton of playing time here, and I wanted to send him somewhere where he would get playing time. So he is at Warwick for this year. 2-star current ability, 3.5-star potential ability. If he keeps improving like he has been, he will definitely get some playing time for us next season. John Christian Kwaku, 19-year-old Ivorian, advanced midfielder on the right, sent him out for first-team playing time. Juan Luis Blanco, my midfielder, another midfielder. I have an addiction to midfielders this save. It's always a position in each save that I tend to go overboard on. This save, it's midfielders, because frankly, you can never have enough. So he went out for first-team playing time, and as you can see, he is definitely getting better while playing. He is at Logrones. They are a Division 4 team. Yeah, Segunda B. And then Vaclav Hranek, who is my young Czech midfielder, who I'm retraining him as a ball-playing defensive center back. He's coming off an injury, though, which is why these have gone down a little. So, yeah, he is just literally coming off injury. He tore a abdominal muscle, so he should, those stats should improve once he gets healthy again. We haven't loaned any players in. There just wasn't anybody out there that I was thought could make the team better or do any better than the guys I have on the bench. On the outs, the first, well, if we go by fee, the first for the smallest, Seydou Diallo, left for $1.1 million, was just kind of lost in the backfield shuffle. Didn't really want to be here anymore. Wanted to go where he got first team playing time. I said, okay, sure. We sold him for 1.6 or 1.1, seeing as how we bought him last year for $500,000. That's not too bad. And then Jeremy Sutter left. Actually, no, Lucas Fabian left. Tottenham came in for him, and he was all over it. And this was an unsolicited offer. He was happy here, and to the point where I was seriously considering making him a new contract offer. He's a very good striker. He's a very good midfielder. He's kind of that. He doesn't excel at either of those areas, but he's really, really good. He's a valuable guy to have on the bench, and considering the number of games we're playing this season, that's something to take into account. But for whatever reason, Tottenham came, and he was just all over it. They gave him an important player contract. He's starting for them. Let's see. Last year, 6th, 5th, 6th. So they've been a top 6 team for a decent amount of time. They've just never been able to crack the top, the upper echelons of that. So they have a striker named England. That's interesting. But frankly, they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. We bought him in for 10.5. He went for 44.5 straight up. I could have tacked on some international appearances or anything like that, but then I got afraid that to be honest, I was afraid that they would renege on the deal, and I didn't want to do that. So Manchester City made a hard push for Jeremy Sutter, and they were initially lowballing me. It was one of those cases where they were like 24, 28, something like that. He's valued at 50. His match release fee was like 60 something, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. But it was like, dude, I want at least this much for him. And they came back and were like, it was one of those cases where it was, well, I want 60. And they said, well, how about 38? I said, well, how about 62? And they came back and said 45 and a half or whatever it was. Yeah, 48. And I was like, yeah, sure. So he came to us from Spal, $12.75 million. Had a really good season 2 years ago. Last season, not as productive, but I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that the offense gelled around a couple other players. This season here, where he had 23 goals and 9 assists and 7 players in the match, he was mostly playing striker. Omri training him as a winger. Man City is playing him. What are they playing him as? Looks like he's coming off the bench. Oh, that's right, because they got Proper up top. He's the best player in the game, I swear. I mean, look at that. Look at those physicals. So we definitely got a decent deal for him. I'm kind of sad to see him go, but at the same time, I don't want to. If a player doesn't want to be here, I'm certainly not going to keep her, especially with the new locker room interactions. You keep a player here who's grumpy, they'll infect the rest of the team, and then you end up selling your starting keeper because you get really miffed at him. So on the ends, I did a lot of scouting in a lot of places I normally don't scout, and brought in a lot of players on loan. Plus, like we already talked about, he came in from Trudham. He's already capped at the under 19 level. 2-star current ability, 3.5-star potential ability. Paid 62,000 euros for him because, frankly, I got a huge transfer budget. I have a huge salary budget. I mean, if this was 8 years ago or even 5 years ago, 5 years ago, I may not have done that. So Romer Detector comes to us from Ulsa Brockel. He is 16 years old. Brought him in on trial. He's got potential. I paid 4,000 euros for him. I said, hey, what do you want for him? They said, well, we'll take 4,000 euros. I was like, okay, cool. Physically, he's okay. Mentally, not so great. But the determination of the work rate I like. The teamwork at 10 is nice. Especially for someone who's 16. He can only get better. Well, what am I risking? I'm risking 4,000 euros. And I can afford to risk 4,000 euros. One of the reasons I liked him, and I clicked too fast, is that he plays all 3 advanced midfield positions really well. Kwaku, who went out on loan, comes to us from Abidjan, 375,000, 1.5-star current ability, 2.5-star potential ability. I think this is one of those cases where that 2.5 stars is wrong, especially when you consider he's 19 years old and he's already this good. He will definitely improve. Gianluca Seca comes to us from Atalanta. He's another youth player, 2-star current ability, 4.5-star potential ability, 18 years old, midfielder, plays a really good deep-lying playmaker, and plays the other positions equally well. Physically, he's solid except for his jumping reach. Mentally, I love the 16 work rate and the 17 teamwork. He's solid everywhere else across the board except bravery. But we're working on that. We got him studying his aerial. Well, we did, at least until he went on loan. And hopefully they're working on that as long as that keeps going up. I sent him out because I wanted him to get first team playing time against good competition. He wasn't going to get good competition in the under 19s. It's one of those cases where he would probably dominate in the other 19 levels, and it would just totally skew how I felt about him. I really don't want that. Keon Ambrose is the first player we spent a decent amount of money for, 7.75 million euros. 28 years old, defensive left back. I needed some depth there. 2.5-star current ability, 2.5-star potential ability. Pagano is my other defensive left back, and I got a couple of youth players I can play there as well, but I wanted somebody who could come in and play the position really well, and I wouldn't really have to worry about him making any mistakes or anything like that. He's solid physically, he's solid mentally, he's solid technically where it counts. 7.75 million. Maybe I overpaid a little bit for him, but he was the best option out there. Comes to us from Watford, who picked him up on a free, and sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss. But I think he's going to be one of those guys who will be here 3 years, and we'll move him on for some money. Ilyas Navarro comes to us from Porto B. Needed some depth at the defensive center back position. 17 years old, 2-star current ability, 4.5-star potential ability, central defender. Already this good physically, mentally really good where it counts. The 16 bravery is nice, the 11 vision, the 10 work rate, the 10 teamwork. Those are all good for a 17-year-old at this level of football. Technically, the 12 heading is nice, the 13 marking and 12 passing is nice, the 16 tackling is excellent. He will definitely get better. He will get playing time. Maybe not right away, maybe after the spring transfer window, but in the Copa del Rey games and areas like that, definitely will get some playing time. Comes to us from Porto B for $11.5 million. Started out in Angers. They paid 3.1 for him, and he had some solid seasons for him on their B squad. It's one of the reasons I picked him up. Robert Tasevsky. Comes to us from Young Boys, $12.75 million. Wingback, but I brought him in to play defensive left back. He is my defensive left back of the future. 17 years old, 1.5-star current ability, 4-star potential ability. He's already this good physically. Mentally, he's solid where it counts. The 5 composure is a little bit on the low side, but I can definitely train that up. The teamwork, work rate's nice. Determination's nice. Technically, he could use some help. I'll be the first to admit that. But then again, he's 17 years old. He will definitely get better. And where am I training him? Wingback left. I don't want to train him wingback left. I want to train him defender left as a wingback. And that is why he was training the wrong thing. I hadn't taken control of his training yet. I thought about offering him out on loan, but then I decided to keep him here because all the loan offers I was getting was like, oh, he'll be a fringe player or an impact sub. I didn't want to do that. Lee Norris is our last big purchase of the summer transfer window, $18.75 million from Arsenal. Defensive midfielder who also plays defensive center back. I'm playing him as a ball-playing defender. 2.5-star current ability, 3.5-star potential ability. Physically is very, very good. Mentally, pretty good, especially in the areas I like. The 13 work rate is nice. The 18 positioning is great. 16 determination, 16 concentration. Technically, he's a little bit on the low side for a couple areas. The crossing and things like that. But he makes up for it with the 16 tackling, the 14 technique, the 13 marking, and 12 passing. So if I played a defender, if I played a formation that had a defensive midfielder, I would definitely play him there. But I don't. I'm still playing the 4-2-4. So he's coming in, and he is going to get starts and appearances off the bench as a ball-playing defender for sure. And I do believe that is everything. So transfer window-wise, we still have 185 million euros, and we've got 800,000 euros of payroll to work with, so we're doing really well there. So far, the season's gotten off to a really good start. We stayed local for training. Leicester came in and asked us to play a friendly away. I said, yeah, sure, let's show the English crowd a decent La Liga team. They were the only squad that beat us in the preseason. But a lot of that had to do with the fact that it was literally, hey, do you want to come play friendly 5 days from now? And it was shoehorned in between my Alaves and Espanyol games. So we got off to a great start against Alaves. We beat them 4-1. Matasevic a goal. Barry Verdonk a brace of goals. Robert Murillo goal. A couple teams came after him, but he wasn't interested in talking to them, which I thought was just mind-boggling. And then I said, hey, do you want a new contract? And he said, yeah, sure. So he's earning 125,000 euros a week. And I believe... No, Barry Verdonk's making 150. So, but that's not unexpected because Barry Verdonk's also a very good player. So, this was a solid game. It didn't help that Luca Pellegrini got sent off in the 51st minute. And after that, Verdonk scored. Pellegrini got sent off. Verdonk scored on the ensuing penalty kick because he fouled him in the box. Verdonk got another one in the 69th minute. Maria got one in the 89th minute. So once Pellegrini got sent off, the game was essentially a foregone conclusion. Against Atletico, we beat them 2-1 thanks to goals by Matasevic and Resnicic. This was a solid game for us. 24 shots, 9 on target. They had 6 and 4. The Rodinelli goal in the 62nd minute was one of those where it's like, I can't believe we let them score that. Let me show you here. He just got between the defenders. Seferovic came out, and he just blew it by him. And it was one of those where it's like, I do that, and my guy hits it right at the keeper. So, we're not going to do a live comp today, simply because this has already gone on 20-something minutes, and I don't want the episode to be too long. But we do have our Champions League group stage draw today. So that is what we're going to do. I believe we're third, so... I'm going to draw the first 16 teams, and then we'll come back with where we are. Oh, good grief. So Group A is Bayern and Monaco. Group B is Eindhoven and Madrid. How is Eindhoven a first pot team? That's really interesting. PSG and Liverpool are Group C. Borussia Dortmund and Benfica are Group D. Barcelona and Manchester City are Group E. Arsenal and Juve are Group F. Porto and Man United are Group G. Inter and Schalke are Group H. Besiktas goes to Group A. Celtic goes to Group B. Leipzig goes to Group C. Ajax goes to Group D. Lyon goes to Group E. We are in Group F with Arsenal and Juve. Napoli goes to G. AZ goes to H. Villarreal rounds out Group A. Lazio rounds out Group B. Zenit goes to C. PAOK goes to Group D. Red Star goes to Group E. We get Slavia Praha. I think we have a decent chance of beating them. Red Bull Salzburg goes to Group G, and that means Copenhagen is going to go to Group H. Holy cow. The transfer window closes in a couple days. Well, we'll take a look at a couple things here. You know what? Let me save this real quick, and then we will come back and take a look at the group, and then... take a look at the squad depth chart and figure out if there's anything we need to do. And then we will call this episode good. So, back in a sec. Okay, group stages are drawn. We have a very tough group. Juve. Well, they've fallen off a little bit, but they've still got a quality squad. It's an older squad. Good grief. Delit, Martinez, Arthur, Cuisance, Rousseau. He is a very good striker. I know we've seen him before. Yeah, because he was at Barcelona. Went to Juve, 18 goals in 35, and they bought him for 67 million. Okay. And then Arsenal. Fabulous. Tierney, Ruben, Moss. He kind of looks like a 6 foot, 275 pound striker, doesn't he? Holy cow. 93 million from Barca. Yeah, I should have recognized that. He had 15 and 28 last season. Fixture arrangements. So this is the entirety of the roster. This includes the under 19s and the B squad as well. If there is one thing I am worried about this season, it is depth. Because if I take away my B squad and I take away my U19s, I literally have 2 players outside of the 18 that are on the senior squad. Now, some of that's intentional because I sent my youth players off for first team playing time in the lower leagues because that's what I wanted them to get. This is what we're looking at in terms of starters. You know, it's still a solid squad. I mean, there's still solid players. Israel is turning into a very good player with Resnicek. For Donks over on the left, Matasev and Maria up top. You know, I can bring on Boyce. I can bring on Van Horn on the right. I've got good youngsters who can come in and play. Broderman, Thorup, Tollefson is going to get a decent amount of playing time. So, you know, the squad as a whole, I don't believe has gotten any worse this season. Now, that said, we're still an injury or 2 away from disaster. But you could say that for a lot of teams. But we're solid everywhere. The only thing I'm really wondering is why is Furman Mullen not going up in his star ratings? Because he's really gotten better as a player. But, you know, it's just things like that. So, I mean, if we are weak in one area, it's going to be defensive left back. After Pagano and Ambrose, well, Broderson's there. Broderson's my young defensive left back. He has got a ton of potential. 2-star current ability, 4-star potential ability. It's just a matter of getting him some playing time, which he will see. He will come off the bench more often than not. So right now he's just playing for the U19s quite a bit. But we're solid in the center. We're solid on the right. Fernandez and Uche and Antonio Ambrosio can play there. We're solid in the midfield. So I think top 4 this season is not too much of an ask. So hopefully, you know, we can avoid the injury bug, and we will have to see what happens there. So I believe what we're going to do is come back. Let me check something out here. You know, we'll come back for Slavia Praha and Granada. And then probably do like Valladolid and Juve, and then one of the games in here, maybe a couple of La Liga games. We'll figure it out as we go ahead. I've learned my lesson. I'm not going to plan too far ahead. You know, as I'm very fond of saying, Custer had a plan too. So we're going to go back for Slavia Praha and Granada. And I'll be seeing it in a little while. I'll play through that. Take me about 35 minutes to an hour to get there, depending on what else happens between now and then. There's still 2 days left in the transfer window. I can't see us making any moves unless a player just absolutely falls in our lap for a good price. And I just don't see that happening. So things could change. We'll find out next episode. If you did like what you've seen and heard, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content, questions, criticism, comments, leave those down below. I will answer those as fast as I can. My name is FM20.